everyone. So in today's video, I wanted to share with you guys all of my student teaching tips and advice, how to prepare for student teaching. If you're watching this, you're probably about to start student teaching either very soon, next semester, next year, or you're just interested in watching this video. So I gathered in my notes things that I thought of that were very helpful and would have been helpful, and I really hope that they help you guys kind of ease your nerves with student teaching. Student teaching is an awesome experience and it's very exciting because it's the next step to becoming a teacher. So I wanted to just give my advice before it's like long back in my memory, since I student taught last semester in spring 21. So I want to get this advice out there for you guys. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Okay, so I have a first couple tips of things you guys should do like before, which one is to start buying basics to wear for student teaching. If you're like a college student, I feel like when I entered college, I ended up just having like loungewear clothes like to wear to class and clothes for going out. So I didn't have any clothes for like in between. So the whole year before, I really started like gathering basics, like getting jeans that didn't have rips in them. I know some schools don't allow jeans, but ours did. So getting jeans without rips in them, just getting nice tops, cardigans. For the winter, I got like turtlenecks, just like different basics to wear, booties, shoes that are gonna be really comfortable. Like just start gathering basic clothes to wear because you're gonna be at the school every single day, and if you're like me, you don't want to wear the same thing over and over again. So I would just start gathering affordable basics. So like I got stuff from like Old Navy, H&M, Zara, ASOS, TJ Maxx. They all have great affordable options. So start getting those pieces, skirts, dresses, things like that you can wear for student teaching. And then second thing, make sure you guys bring a lunch box because you're gonna need to take your lunch for school. And this is something I got later on in the weeks, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need a lunch box. Within the first week, I was like, I don't have a lunchbox. So make sure you guys have a lunchbox. Okay, the next thing you guys want to do, so the day before you guys start teaching, is picking out your clothes every night. Because if you are waking up so early, and if you're not a morning person like me, you definitely want to make sure your mornings are seamless. So I would make sure I picked out my clothes the day before, so I wasn't scrambling, trying to figure out what to wear. And then also, you want to make sure you're going to sleep early. So I'm used to going to bed like midnight, past midnight, like even last night. I'm obviously not on that schedule anymore, so I went to bed super late. But you want to make sure you're having energy. So I went to bed at like no later than 9:30 every night. I would try and be in bed by like 9, and I would take Ollie sleep gummies. So I would recommend those if you also are a person who has a hard time falling asleep early. What I would do is just take them on Sunday, and then if I took them one time out of the week, that for the rest of the week would kind of follow in that sleep pattern. Because if I take them on Sunday and I wake up early, at that point on that Monday, I'm very tired and ready to go to bed at 9. So I would only take them like once a week, because and then on Fridays and Saturdays I go to bed late again for the weekend. So every like Sunday I would pop those gummies in and would be knocked out really quick. So it was a really great hack for me to get on a really good routine, because I just noticed I do not perform as well if I'm tired, and I need to have energy to give my all at every single day of teaching. Definitely make sure you're on a really good sleep schedule. And then next, you want to make sure you're bringing caffeine and snacks. So caffeine was just an essential for me. If I noticed a day I didn't have caffeine, it was very hard to like stay awake, even if going to sleep early, like, and I'd wake up and I'd be so tired. So I would make sure I had either coffee in the morning, or I would have Alani Nu energy drinks. Were really good. I loved those. And then also I would have for breakfast like the Cliff bars with energy. So like they have the coffee collection. So I noticed a big difference with that. And then just bringing snacks throughout the day. Pack some snacks because you're gonna get hungry throughout the day. So I would bring snack throughout the day before lunch. And then also had my caffeine, which was very essential to me. Okay, my next tip is to have a playlist that really like pumps you up in the morning. So like every morning I would listen to like Taylor Swift or something and just like get pumped for the day, or have like a good morning playlist, and I would just have the windows down and it would just get me in a really good mood. Like I did not want to feel groggy or tired like coming into the work day, so I would just like blast music on my way there and feel like energized, and it really helped a lot, just like starting off the day with a really good mood and like nice energy. So I definitely recommend, like, on your way to school, getting some like good jams in. Okay, so my next tip is, on the first day of your student teaching, plan out with your teacher what the year is going to look like. So for my program specifically, I was very lucky and thankful that the teachers I was working with planned out everything very meticulously for how we were going to transition to full takeover. So full takeover, obviously, where I'm fully teaching and every single lesson, doing it all myself, kind of starting out with, okay, this week you're gonna observe, then you're gonna start doing your read alouds, then you're gonna teach this lesson, then you're gonna start teaching this lesson and this lesson. It was really easily planned out to how the rest of the semester was gonna look like, and all of the responsibilities and duties we were gonna do, because that helped so much. I know I had other friends in the program who were like, we did not create that, and we're kind of just me as we go. Like some days, like I haven't been teaching, or they would say they hadn't been teaching, and then randomly the next day their teacher would be like, all right, you need to get thrown in there. So like how our plan really gave us baby steps into full takeover. So it was really nice transition once we had to do that. So I would just talk with your mentor teacher and plan out how the semester is going to look. And next, make sure you are organized. Organization is very important. So this is something that I ended up getting later on, so this is also something you need before, is getting a lesson plan book, and then I had a notebook for taking notes. And then my teacher got me a notebook where she wrote back all her feedback. So I had 3 different notebooks, and it was very helpful. So I would plan out the weeks with my grade level team, write in all the lessons in one book, and then a book where I took my personal notes and things I observed and noticed throughout the day, and then a notebook where my mentor teacher got, where at the end of the day would provide feedback, or we kind of have this back and forth dialogue. It was very nice to keep organized, and that was something I wish I got before. I was like not prepared going into that. So yeah, you're definitely gonna need that as well. And then the next thing is to start assignments early for your other classes. So normally, I believe if you're student teaching, you also have like that capstone, which the only other really main activity that we had was our teaching portfolio. So that was just where we gathered all of our artifacts and photos of different like requirements that we had to make on this digital portfolio. So for example, that was just mine, but if you guys have something else, I would just recommend getting started on it early. I started on it pretty early and time managed pretty well to where it wasn't overwhelming or stressful, and I would just like take photos for it and then do a checklist. And luckily, again, my teachers were very organized and wrote a list of what I would need, everything that I needed, all the requirements, and what would correspond for that. So that way, when that day came up, I could take photos for it and include it in my portfolio. So that way, when it was due, it was not something I stressed about, because again, I had other friends who had not started on it, and it was like due within a couple weeks, and I was like, oh my gosh, I would be very stressed out if I had not managed that and planned that early on, started working on it in the beginning of the semester. So if you have any assignments for your other classes, make sure you're getting started on those and working on those early on, because when you're actually in full takeover, that's the last thing you're going to want to worry about. Next is you really want to ask your teacher lots of questions, especially that first week. So I made sure I asked my mentor teacher a lot of different specific questions that I had watched videos on things to ask your mentor teacher, and relayed those questions over to her about like classroom management, communication with parents, and things like that I wanted to know as well. So I asked her that in the beginning of the week, and it was honestly easy for us to like have a lot of communication in the beginning, because we did start out virtual, so we had a lot of time throughout the day to communicate about other things. But even if you're not like after school or before school, like make sure you're getting in a couple questions. That will be very helpful for you, because of course you're like a sponge during this time and absorbing so much information and wanting to remember all of it. So make sure you ask questions and then write those down as well so you can remember them. So I kind of already said this with like my notebook of taking notes, but definitely you want to make sure you're taking notes of things you guys of things you notice. If there's something that your teacher does that you really like, write that down. And if there's something you don't really like and something you don't want to take away, write that down as well. It's just going to be a hub of notes that are going to be very helpful and useful for you when you start teaching on your own. If you guys have been watching my videos for a long time, you guys know I'm currently in my master's program, so I'm not currently teaching. So for example, for me, I'm making sure I keep all those notes so when I do teach, I have a lot of resources and can refer back to a lot of things. Okay, so next, which is very important, is building relationships. This is like something that I believe is really important when it comes to being a teacher. I'm very glad that my mentor teacher also prioritized relationships with students and stuff. So especially in the beginning, really get to know your students, greet them by name when they walk through the door, ask them how their week's been, try to get to know their interests. Like my first week of them being back in person, I did a little about me page about their family, their interests, just so I can get a better understanding of them and can talk to them about their different interests and things. So it was really nice getting to build relationships with students. And then of course also your mentor teachers and your grade level team. Luckily my whole grade level team, we all ate lunch together every day, so it was nice getting to build relationships with them as well. And it was just made the whole environment so nice, and like I looked forward to going to school every day, because I know like if you are in a horrible work environment and you don't get along with your grade level team, or you don't feel like you have support, it may not be as exciting to get up every day. But luckily, another huge perk, which is a pretty specific experience, but like the other student teachers in my grade level, we were friends and we even got closer throughout that experience. But getting to work in that environment and have that support from one another was really nice. And it was great because every day we would have laughs during lunch, and it just really helped the whole environment. So yeah, and then which kind of leads into my next tip, which is like lean on your grade level team. We supported each other a lot. So there was a subject where one of us felt stronger in, and vice versa. One would kind of take on those tasks, and we kind of like taught all the same things like pretty much every single day. So we would kind of trade off the work as well, which was very nice. If you guys are luckily in the position where you have other student teachers at your school, I know this is like kind of rare because I've heard other people's stories and experiences where there's only like 1 or 2 student teachers at their school, whereas in my program there was like almost 15 student teachers. So if you're in that situation and you also have other student teachers in your grade level, work with each other, because that's how it's going to be most likely in the real world also if your grade level works closely together. So it was nice being able to split up that work with one another, and one would take on this task and another one would take on this task. It made the stress ease a lot. So definitely lean on your grade level team, because even other than them, we also asked a lot of questions to the other people in our grade level and for advice and stuff. So it's just very important, and it was definitely a highlight of the whole experience. Next is to try getting experience with the parents of your students. Luckily, my teacher kind of threw me in, and it was at first really scary, but it was nice, and I'm glad I was able to do it. So she would have me answer the phone calls when we would have parents calling throughout the day. Luckily, it wasn't a huge disturbance because it was like when we were hybrid or virtual a lot, so the students weren't in the classroom. But when parents would call, I would answer some of their questions, and at first it was very scary when I didn't know the answers to questions and parents were kind of frustrated with certain things. But that experience that I had, now that I've done it a few times, I'm like, okay, at least I've done it, I can do it again. So I think just getting any experience with communicating with parents or sitting in on meetings with students and parents was also very helpful, and getting to have that interaction. So if your teacher hasn't put you in those situations, I would definitely recommend it. And next piece of advice is to know it's okay if you have bad days or feel like the first lesson you teach goes awful. I remember my first lesson, which unfortunately was virtual, so it was very difficult, and navigating that, and also trying to figure out engagement in that way. So I just remember after my first reading lesson, I was wanting to cry because I thought it went so horribly, And then, but I just remembered, okay, this is the first one, it's gonna get better. And I learned so much from that first lesson and changed so much for the next one, and it went so much better. And that's normal. Like, you are learning and things aren't always going to go perfect, especially your first time, of course. Everyone's going to remember their first time, and my mentor teacher was awesome and always reminded me that she remembered her first time and how it went awful, but you learn from it and you get better. That's how you improve. So yeah, very important to remember that you're going to have bad days and good days, and not to be too hard on yourself. Because remember, even my first math lesson, which I think was the next week or that week, it was also horrible, and I just remember being so nervous and anxious and like stumbling over my words. I had butterflies, and I was like, this is awful. And then also while I was teaching that lesson, the like vice principal had come in, so I just was so flustered and it went awful. But I just, again, learned from that one, and then taught the next one, and all my lessons after that went way more smoothly. So just don't get too hard on yourself. You're gonna probably have bad days where you think it was awful, but you learn from it. And make sure you after that, which leads into my next tip of advice, is ask for feedback. So afterwards, I'd always ask my mentor teacher for feedback, what she thought went well, what she thought I could improve. I was like, how would I go about this situation? And she gave really good advice, which I would use to then go into my next lesson. So definitely ask for feedback, and yeah, it will be very helpful to you. All right, my camera died right before I was about to give my last tip of advice. But my last tip is just to take time for yourself and really try and have a balance. It could be really overwhelming, and I remember my first week and first month were kind of stressful, and then until after that I felt more at ease and into a routine. But make sure you take time for yourself, because this can be a very overwhelming time and all your focus is on making lesson plans and all your stuff for your student teaching. But make sure you make time for your friends and yourself, and that's what really helped my whole experience. I felt like I had a really good balance of teaching and social life that, looking back, I was like, wow, that was such an awesome time period in my life, and I loved the entire experience, and I'm very grateful for it. So just make sure you're not totally swamped in it, and do things that you enjoy as well throughout the week and weekends. So definitely make sure weekends are for fun. So that's what I did, and it was really nice. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video and learning a little bit more about student teaching tips and advice. I hope any of these, at least one, were very helpful for you, and good luck in your student teaching experience. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye guys.